Why does the number 13 send shivers down so many spines? Is it just a leftover relic from an ancient, superstitious past? Or is there something more to it, something woven into the very fabric of our culture, our psychology, and maybe even the universe itself? Buildings that mysteriously skip from the 12th floor to the 14th. Airline gates that jump from 12 to 14. We call this fear triskaidekaphobia, a mouthful of a word for a simple fear of a number. To understand our modern fear, we have to travel back in time, way back. Picture ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, where the Babylonians were not just building ziggurats, but also laying the foundations of mathematics and astronomy. And for them, the number 12 was the symbol of that perfection. You can divide it by 2, 3, 4, and 6. It's neat, it's tidy. So what happens when you add one more to that perfection? You get 13. An awkward prime number that messes up the beautiful symmetry. It's the odd one out, the disruptor of cosmic balance. When archaeologists first unearthed and translated these ancient laws, they noticed something peculiar. The list of laws appeared to skip from law number 12 to 14. The 13th law was missing. Norse mythology gives us one of the most famous unlucky 13 stories. It's a tale of a grand banquet in Valhalla, the great hall of the gods. Everything was going splendidly until a 13th guest showed up, uninvited. This gatecrasher was none other than Loki, the god of mischief and chaos. Loki's arrival disrupted the perfect harmony of the 12 gods and set in motion a chain of events that led to the death of Balder, the most beloved of all the gods. For a long time, Friday and 13 were unlucky separately. Friday had its own bad reputation and 13 had its. There were 13 individuals at that table, Jesus and his 12 disciples. The 13th person to take his seat was Judas Iscariot, the disciple who would betray Jesus. Many point to a dramatic historical event, the downfall of the Knights Templar. The story goes that on Friday, October 13, 1307, King Philip IV of France ordered the arrest of hundreds of Templars. The real tipping point seems to be a work of fiction. In 1907, stockbroker Thomas Lawson published a novel titled Friday the 13th, and then came Hollywood. In 1980, the slasher film Friday the 13th was released. It created a cultural icon, the hockey mask-wearing, machete-wielding Jason Voorhees. So the fear of Friday the 13th isn't some ancient tradition. It's more of a cultural collage, a blend of Christian narratives, a misremembered historical event, a popular novel, and a blockbuster horror movie. In Judaism, 13 is actually a very significant and positive number. A Jewish boy reaches the age of religious maturity and becomes a bar mitzvah at 13. The great Jewish philosopher Maimonides formulated what he called the 13 Articles of Faith, the core tenets of the Jewish faith, a foundational summary of their most important beliefs. For the Egyptians, they believed there were 12 stages of life in this world, but the 13th stage was the glorious afterlife, the eternal existence that was the ultimate goal. The Mayan calendar system includes the Tzolk'in, or sacred calendar, which is a 260-day cycle made up of 20-day signs and 13-day numbers. In ancient Greece, Zeus was considered the 13th and most powerful god, who sat on his throne on Mount Olympus overseeing the other 12. At its core, the human brain is basically a pattern recognition machine. It's a survival tool that evolved on the plains of the Serengeti, not in the complexities of a modern city. Our ancestors who were best at spotting patterns, like those berries made my cousin sick or that rustling in the grass could be a lion. Well, those were the ones who survived to pass on their genes. The problem is, this machine is sometimes a little too good at its job. It sees patterns even where none exist. This is reinforced by what psychologists call confirmation bias. Once we have a belief, for example, 13 is unlucky, we subconsciously look for evidence that confirms it, and we ignore evidence that contradicts it. But if you get a flat tire, spill coffee on your shirt, and miss an important meeting, your brain screams, "Aha, I knew it! It's Friday the 13th. Superstitions can provide a sense of control in a world that often feels random and chaotic. It's a psychological comfort blanket. The most famous and widespread example of triskaidekaphobia in action is the phenomenon of the missing 13th floor. It didn't vanish into another dimension. It's still there, of course. It's just been renamed. The floor physically located between the 12th and 14th floors is simply called 14. Building owners and developers made a calculated decision based on the anticipated fears of their customers. According to some surveys, as many as 85% of high-rise buildings with a 13th floor have renamed it. A child gets into an elevator, sees the missing number, and asks their parents why. The superstition is then passed down through the mundane architecture of daily life. The Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute has estimated that triskaidekaphobia results in significant financial losses, particularly on Friday the 13th. In Italy, 13 is actually considered a lucky number. The expression fare 13, which means to do 13, is a common way of saying to hit the jackpot. Many legendary athletes have proudly worn it on their backs, turning it into a symbol of power and dominance. For them, 13 wasn't unlucky, it was the number of a legend. The original nation was formed from 13 colonies that banded together to declare independence from Great Britain. You'll find 13 stars in the crest, 13 stripes on the shield, 13 arrows in the eagle's left talon. Even Colgate University considers 13 its lucky number. The university was founded by 13 men with $13 and 13 prayers. So the next time you encounter the number 13, remember this other side of the story. It is a number of luck, power, unity, and divine connection. First and foremost, 13 is a prime number. A prime number is a whole number greater than one that cannot be formed by multiplying two smaller whole numbers. But 13 is not just any prime. It is part of a prime pair with the number 11. Prime pairs, or twin primes, are pairs of prime numbers that differ by 2. 13 is what's known as a Fibonacci number. The Fibonacci sequence is a famous series where each number is the sum of the two preceding ones. 13 is the smallest IMERP. It's a prime number that results in a different prime number when its digits are reversed. IMERP is just prime spelled backwards. Archimedes identified 13 semi-regular convex polyhedra, now known as the Archimedean solids. These are fascinating three-dimensional shapes, like the truncated icosahedron, which you might recognize as the pattern on a classic soccer ball. The square of 13 is 169. If you reverse the digits, you get 961. And the square root of 961 is 31, which is 13 reversed. This kind of numerical symmetry is rare and beautiful. We've traveled from ancient Babylon to modern skyscrapers, from sacred texts to the horror movie aisle, and into the elegant world of pure mathematics. Our journey shows us that 13 is more than just an integer. It's a mirror. It reflects our deepest hopes and fears, our need for order, and our fascination with the unknown. The story of 13 is really the story of the human mind, trying to make sense of its reality, using numbers as anchors in a sea of uncertainty. So, I'll ask you one final question as we close our cosmic exploration. Now that you've heard its tale from so many different angles, what do you think? Is 13 really unlucky, or is it just a number with a story to tell? I'd love to hear your own experiences, your family traditions, or your personal beliefs about this fascinating number. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Keep looking up.